Hey everybody, welcome to Out of Character. We're gonna have a little bit of a chat today. I'm Evan. This is Robin. Let me make sure that your mic is working on here really fast, Robin. Will you say something for me? Oh, we do not have your mic working. Let me fix this really fast. No, it's because I'm using these headphones instead of my normal one. It captures like the headphone output, so I just gotta switch it over to the right thing.
Okay.
So now, hopefully, when you talk,
Hello, when I talk.
yeah, cool, we're working.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Easy.
Yeah, so today we're just going to chill and just Robin and I are going to have a chat, and any questions you have about anything that we're talking about or the stream or D&D or whatever, just ask them in chat and we'll get to it. Question number one, why are you so adorable? Hi, Webster. Thank you for coming again. But yeah, we were just talking about Robin's cat being a terror, as usual. We
Yeah,
both experience nighttime feline terrors.
yeah.
Ours, I don't know if I've ever had my cat on stream or where he even is now, but he's this like massive, just big fatty that just loves to walk all over us in the middle of the night every single night.
Yeah, Tommy took a great photo, I think yesterday, of Chicken woke him up by stepping on his eyeball and just like stood there for like a while, long enough that he could like get a photo of it.
Amazing.
It's good. Cats are good, everybody.
Okay, so looks like the first question from Spirit Pod's for you, if you want to read it.
Hey. Yeah, playing a ranger tank. That's a good question.
Yeah. So the question was just to read it for everybody. What is it like playing what is essentially a ranger tank or a melee ranger?
Yeah, I mean, um, I've told Evan a couple of times that like I feel like I'm doing it wrong. Still, like I'm being a ranger wrong, but I don't know. It's working okay.
Yeah.
Like it. I think it was a little. It is clumsy because of the obvious like Hunter's Mark is a concentration spell, and I get hit a lot.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's such a bummer. But I think it's still worth it. Like I think the trade off is still worth it at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, Rangers get that like fat like D10 hit die, so you're gonna have like
Yeah.
a bunch of hit points. Your
Mhm.
Constitution, thankfully, is pretty good.
Mhm.
I feel like the only thing that like would really benefit you is like if you either took something with like if you did like a swashbuckler rogue or something where you could like hit and then just move away every time, but then that would sort of defeat the purpose of tanking, or even just taking like the tough feat where you get like that proficiency in con saves so you can maintain concentration better, which would be cool, and that also boosts your con score and would help with your hit points. But yeah,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the fifth edition did a really good job of getting rid of those sort of you have to do this if you're this class sort of things, because
Right.
you can play melee wizard now with like blade singer, or you can do whatever you want. There's like
Yeah.
blaster caster all the way up to like basically tank warlocks. Like it's crazy.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it feels like fifth edition is the only edition I've played, but it does feel like ultimately it's not the only thing that matters, but like your ability scores matter more than kind of what you choose as the class. It feels like.
Yeah. I mean, there's always going to be stuff that helps you, especially like armor proficiencies and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's all going to come down to like how you're building like your AC. Like you can
Mhm.
do a what is it, like a barbarian that doesn't even have proficiency with heavy armor, but due to like some wacky gameplay mechanics, you can have like your AC up to 20 by like level 2 or 3, just because you're speedy. And
Yeah.
I see people be like, well, why would you ever make like a dex barbarian? They can't like rage with like a dex weapon, but like you have that 20 AC and you're tanking really well at like level 3. So
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Yeah, I'm at level 4 and my AC is 18, I think.
Yeah,
Right
that's with the
now.
new shield, right?
Yeah, with the shield. Yeah. Um, which yeah, I mean, it's so cool because it boosts my AC and it's a weapon,
Yeah.
uh, which is awesome.
It was a really fun like idea to use as a boss mechanic, and then I was like, wait, what if why would you not be able to pick this thing up and use it? Like
Sure.
obviously it's going to be heavy and it's for you it's a strength weapon, which is not your forte, but it's still
Hmm.
you're getting an offhand attack even if it's like at a little bit less of an advantage.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
let's look at chat here. Um, or a weapon with reach, yeah. Honestly, if Rangers had proficiency with like halberds or glaives or any of those polearms, like polearm master is I think my favorite feat in the game. Um,
Hell yeah. Man, I mean, shit, maybe I do that, you know? I don't know. Like it's still so early on, I feel like. Um like I picked up the shield not fully with the intention of like maybe I'll use this, maybe I like have two battles with it and decide I don't like it. And that's fine. Um but you know, yeah, maybe level 5 I'll be Halberd Ranger.
yeah, I mean that and like I don't think anybody has really gotten a big upgrade to armor aside from like the chain shirt and stuff that you found recently. So that's I feel like that's something that I'm going to start introducing a little bit more at like level 5 once you get into tier 2 because tier 1's just like what's your ability score is how are you doing, can you like make it through this stuff with like having nothing because you're supposed to just be like a little pissant like adventurer,
Right.
and then level 5 is like oh you go from being like local heroes to like heroes of like your local realm instead of just like the
Mhm.
town. um,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Darby has a question.
Uh, who is the biggest wild card of the group, and what was the craziest thing they've caused? I feel like
I
I don't know. This is a hard question.
Yeah. I think that I think there's an interesting dynamic because I mean, TBH, I'm kind of um the wild card in terms of like I didn't know any of you before I started playing this game, except for
Yeah,
Tommy. But and I think I kind of started intending to play way more chaotic than I have. But there's been a little bit of like I don't want to annoy these people. Like like I want them to like me.
well, and I kind of like that Bree's whole personality is this like intensely anti-authoritarian, like very like I want to fuck shit up, like I'm here to party, but like you also have been playing her in a way that it's obvious that like that situation that like landed your whole group in hot water has like really put you in more of a defensive stance where now anytime you enter a situation you're cautious because you've
Yeah,
seen what being headstrong can do to a party.
totally. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things she has learned through her life up until the campaign is that like sometimes when she acts on her ideals or when she like plays the hero, other people end up getting hurt, and that sucks. So maybe she's like, I don't know, reining it in a little bit. But I also think I would say that Ambrose is perhaps the biggest wild card.
I was literally waiting for you to finish saying whatever you're gonna say because I was gonna be like, Ambrose is also the secret wild card for
Yes.
sure. Because he will just like spend a turn doing like the craziest, like nothing in the rules defines this, and it just like it puts me on my heels as a DM so much trying to like figure out like okay how do I justify this without just being like just play by the rules, god damn it
Yeah.
Nero, but like no it's so he's so creative, he's so smart about like doing stuff and just seeing if it'll work, like oh I'm gonna make a
Mhm.
sign in the dirt that says don't step here to make them think there's a trap, or
Yeah.
I'm going to use my turn to use prestidigitation to make them think I'm casting a spell and back up.
Right.
Like that's smart. It's
Right.
maybe not the most efficient use of like turn stuff, but it's really fun to roleplay with.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about the Battle of Glassstaff, where he like mimed eating the book.
Oh, that's right. He like tucked it behind his head. Incredible. I forget that he's just a goat at heart.
Yeah.
And that's just the best. Okay. Eating the book bit. Iris, yes. Okay, Beef McCat has a question. I'm assuming 2020's pandemic was a factor, but what made you want to stream your D&D sessions? Let's do that one, and then there's a follow-up question after that. I have wanted to do this for a while. I kind of reached out to a bunch of people that I'd been wanting to play D&D with for a long time, and I've always just played at a table. I've never done online stuff. Pandemic really changed that, and so I did like a practice session with some other people where I have another campaign that's still ongoing with just like Discord friends that are other friends that I'm like, oh, I've never got to play D&D with you. I want to, and then once I realized that worked, I was like, okay, I want to try to do like a project out of this. Who are some people I know who are very like project focused and good at this? And obviously reached out to Iris and Nero because they're two of the most like, they always have something that they're doing that they're working on, and Tommy's the same way. And of course Tommy brought you in, and yeah, it's just been like a dream team.
Yeah. No, it's been so awesome. Like the level to which I feel like everybody has committed to it.
Yeah.
Is really cool.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just the fact that we do this live and like do it in front of a camera, and there's people sort of depending on us to play D&D, as silly as that sounds, that like really gets everybody thinking about it a little bit more seriously. But I don't see the level of like dedication to schedule and characters and talking about stuff between games and making your own like private like character chat where you guys are talking about how to like scheme against me as the DM. Like that's stuff that I love and I think is really cool, but I've never had a group of players do that in one of my games.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think also that like this is my first time playing D&D at all.
Yeah,
and
that is something I feel like not enough people realize about this group, is that like Tommy maybe played D&D forever ago. Iris has played a lot of tabletop games, but I think it's been a minute since she played D&D. I think kind of the same thing for Nero, because they said that they both like DM'd and played sessions forever ago, and then it obviously did what happens to every home game where scheduling or something screws it up. But yeah, like by and large, y'all have a swath of collective experience, but most of you are pretty new to at least 5th edition or D&D as like a game in general, and it's been really cool to watch you all just dig into it and really understand it and work with it so well. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I definitely felt for myself the learning curve like the first few sessions, and then I feel like, I mean, not like now I'm an expert, but like I feel I no longer feel like I completely don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Which is helpful.
I think you know exactly what you're doing, like 99% of the time, which is a crazy like growth pattern from when did we start? Like October, November last year. Like, there was a follow-up question to that previous one. Let's trade off. You can read the follow-up there. It was in the middle of that Beef McCat question.
With vaccinations going out, do you plan to continue doing online-only sessions, or will you switch to in-person, depending on the party's locations? We are all pretty much in different cities. Yeah. I think we totally would if it were possible. But yeah, me and Tommy live in Albuquerque. Iris and Nero are up in Seattle. Evan's in LA. But we will, I do think, I mean, the obvious next part to that is we're thinking about, like, hopefully sometime maybe this year, like, playing a live game together. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I've been working at conventions for I don't know how long. Iris and Nira have been doing the same thing. Tommy doesn't necessarily work like within the convention parameters, but does photo shoots and stuff like that at many conventions for costumers and stuff like that. And that's just something I think almost everybody enjoys doing. I don't have you attended stuff like that before, Robin? No? Okay. But I am sure like this D&D game has been it's something you would fall into easily and quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I would really love to reach out to some of the people I know within the convention circuit and try to do a live show at a con as like a stage thing, which would be really really fun. Especially if we could rope that into the charity racket and everything too, because I know a lot of the stuff that happens at cons, like just the visibility in and of itself, does a crazy amount for charity. And if we could, I don't know, I hate to use the word gimmick, but almost gimmick it to where like there's some turning points in the story during the live set where people can donate to change things or just find some way to make it a little audience interactive would be really fun.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Okay, next question from Darby. Which D&D creature would you have as a pet in the real world? I mean, I feel like that's an easy answer for you.
Oh, yeah, like Winchester, 100%. Yeah, I would love to have him as a real pet. I think about like this wasn't like a direct inspiration for Winchester, but there was this short story from Anais Nin, who like mostly did erotica, but also short stories. And there was this one short story about this woman who had like a white raven as a pet that just like was on her shoulder all the time and like scared people away from her and was like I don't know, like
just very witchy familiar vibes.
Yeah, and I'm so into that. Just but very like modern day, just like, oh cool, this girl has a white raven that follows her everywhere. That's normal.
Sorry, I had a bug. I don't know what I would pick. I mean, I feel like a blink dog would be the cutest thing in the world, but it would be impossible to take care of. Something weird like a flumph or something, which are these like bizarre, they look kind of like a weird floating like football head with like two eye stalks that stick out of them, and they like communicate. They're really cute and just stupid, and then maybe just something like big and stupid and cuddly like an owlbear or something if it was nice to me. I don't know. Like, I mean, if it's fantasy, like sky's the limit, right? So who knows?
Right.
A dragon? I don't fucking know, man. Something I could like ride on and go flying? Like, yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Flumph definitely sounds like a Pokemon. That's...
It is 100%. Like, even the art for it is just... It looks like
cute.
Some weird Game Freak thing.
Love it.
Do you want to do... Let's see. Oh, yeah, there's another question from Spirit Paw here, if you want to read that one.
Oh, yeah. Who was your favorite NPC? I mean, it's gotta be Droop.
Yeah?
It's gotta be Droop. I also... Okay, I'm kind of biased, but Halia is so cool. After that one... I mean, obviously, after that conversation in the last session... I was fully like, I said after our game, I was like, this feels like Berlin in the 60s and we're like smuggling cigarettes across the wall. Like, it's so cool. I wanted to ask, how much of that was you making up that character?
So as written, Halia has nothing to do with any of the things that you talked about in that thing. So all of like the connection with, I think the only thing that is written in the book, or in, I guess it's like a magazine size module, is that she has the desire to have Glassstaff removed from power and will pay for that because she has Zent connections.
Right.
And beyond that, that's pretty much it. So you're the whole way she is entangled in yours and Mag's and Glasstaff's like backstory. That has been just a really fun little like project that I wrote that before I did my prep for Phandalin. So it's been like sitting
Wow.
on the back burner. I think when you first came into Phandalin, I was like describing like the Dove Post and the Miners Exchange really hard, and all this
Mhm.
stuff, and y'all just never went in. And so I was just like, okay, I'll just like keep this in the back pocket and see
Uh-huh.
what happens with it. And then eventually, yeah, I think Oleander went in to pen that letter, and then like scary Russian lady behind the counter is like, kill this person for me, blood.
Yeah.
Like, um, so yeah, it was fun to just sort of sit on that and have this NPC that was just an observer,
Hmm.
just sort of waiting for like the right time to do something. Um,
Totally. Yeah, and I mean she so much feels like, especially running the Dove Post, like I now feel like she knows everything.
that's a
Like,
lot of access to information.
yeah, like she is the hub of this network and yeah, knows everything, gives away little. Yeah, she's very cool.
Um,
Yeah.
as far as NPCs go, I think Haley is one of my favorite to play for sure, just because I like how sort of calm and aggressive she is at the same time, which is a weird dynamic.
Hmm.
But I think I also just really, really like playing Sister Garrily because she's so overly nice, and everyone in the
Yeah.
party has just gotten to this point where it's like this bitch is too nice. There's something up. We gotta kill her. Like, I wish that I could just record the conversations that happen in the Discord after we turn the stream off, and we all have our
Hmm.
little sort of like post session thing, but everybody's just like, ooh, I hate her. She's like, she's way too fancy. She's too pretty. There's gotta be something wrong.
Oh
And just
God.
digging into that and making her even nicer and like just trying to sort of work that angle even more has been really fun.
Nicer and like more precious too because of how she was like she has the speak with dead spell and she like buries people. I was like, sure, like she's been exposed to gruesome stuff, but when we asked her to like interview a severed head of a doppelganger, she was like, "Ugh."
Yeah, she's like, I do local funerals like for grandma
Yeah.
and grandpa. You want me to like talk to this like decapitated monster? But yeah, like that, and I think clerics are a really cool class. I like them. I have personally a very iffy relationship with religion in most of its forms, but I think that Tamora, just like being a god of luck and
Hmm.
basically being sort of this like, go do whatever you want, and if you worship me, I'll try to make sure that it goes your way, but I might not. It's just such a fun like sort of deity to have someone devote their entire life to, that she, I don't know, having that versus like, and then she always talks about Bashaba being Tamora's sister, the sort of goddess of misfortune, and being like, oh, that's Tamora, that's Bashaba doing that. Like it's such like a religious person's way to like explain away anything, like, oh, I didn't pray hard enough, or like, oh, thoughts and prayers, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so it puts her into this very like, I'm powerful, I'm really nice, but also like live, laugh, love, like pray
Yeah,
it away. Which is, I
totally.
mean, that's kind of how clerics are. Um, okay, we have a bunch
Yeah.
more.
Oh yeah.
Webster says, I'm looking at FC in a year or two. Would be a great thing to be able to see you when you're on the West Coast. Yeah. I used to like always get tables and stuff at cons. I know that Iris and Nero probably still will be doing that. But yeah, we'll be around. If you happen to be at FC, we would love to say hi by all means. And if we aren't able to secure like a thing for like a live show, like on a stage, I would love to at the very least get like a conference room and just sit at the front of that and do it as a panel, because that's easy. That's something
Yeah,
that like I know we can make happen.
that would be awesome.
And then Spirit Paw says, I never realized that the Forgotten Realms were like a campaign almost. How much is out of the campaign and how much is out of your own head? Um, so Forgotten Realms is more so a campaign setting that is almost all of the stuff that's come out for 5th edition, with the exception of like a few books like Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica and like the Mythic Odyssey of Theros, which is like set in the world that like Magic the Gathering is in, and like all this other stuff. Almost every single book is in Forgotten Realms, which is this continent of Faerun that has just had layers and layers and layers of history of like civilizations rising and falling, and basically everywhere is just ruins of these previous civilizations. Regarding this particular campaign, which is set in the Forgotten Realms as the setting, most of the stuff that everybody's doing, like the main plot points, are all from the book, but all the little details, like the whole first cave that they ran through, like I completely redid from scratch. The way they encountered the last castle that they did, I had to fudge things around a little bit. I was very glad that we had that break between kicking the door in and then actually playing that session, because I got to sort of figure out how I could balance it to make it very hard but doable, which was insane that y'all even survived that without running, because my intention as the DM was to make you run, and that didn't happen, so you just cleared everything out somehow. I feel like I consistently underestimate my parties, but yeah, it's been fun to run Lost Mines of Phandelver, because it is literally the starter set for D&D. It comes in the box when you buy the D&D thing at Target or like anywhere else, and it's, I don't know, it's literally the whole book's like maybe like a magazine. It's like 50 pages, and the fact that we've been running, oh geez, I don't know, what are we at, 22 episodes of like a 50-page booklet is crazy. And most of that is just y'all sort of making the story on your own, as opposed to it being something that's written there.
Yeah. It's definitely been like a lot of I think more than I expected. Like plenty of role playing.
Yeah.
Which has been really fun. I think that was both really fun and like the number one thing I was terrified of at the jump, but ended up being the most fun part.
Yeah.
So
it's intimidating. It's scary, but it's. I don't know. I feel like everybody has a different relationship with it, because I've DM'd for tables as big as like 11 people at a time, which is, it's miserable. I don't recommend it. It's fun because you have all of your friends there, but like as soon as somebody's done their turn, they pull out their laptop because they know it's going to be like another 30-40 minutes before they even get back to them. But in situations like that, you can't really role play because there's too many voices talking. And then I've also had other situations where like there's people who really want to role play, and there's people who would just want to like sit quiet and like do their own thing until combat starts, and that's when they want to come out. So it just really depends on the players. I think I'm just lucky in this campaign that everybody likes to role play. And it's fun. It makes it for a good sort of balance, because everybody likes combat, everybody likes role play. There's no real. I don't know. What did you? Did you come into it thinking there would be more or less roleplay than there is?
I think less. I don't know. I mean, the majority of my exposure to D&D thus far has been Critical Role. So, like, I think I was kind of expecting a hard departure from that, because those people are actors. So, like, of course they're going to do a lot of role-playing. And when I was playing myself, I was like, oh, I'm sure it's not normally like that. You know?
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, it is not, obviously it is not to that level.
They do such a crazy job. It's a fun goal to strive for. But it's also just a style of D&D that's very different from normal.
Yeah. It is very much a performance, which is fine. Like, it's great.
And works so well for this stream format. And that's why I'm trying to adopt some things from that. But definitely there's a lot of talk on, like, forums and online in general about like the Mercer effect or the Critical Role effect, about like how that's sort of a very imitatable style of DMing, but it is somehow harmful to D&D because it puts the DM in a situation where they're doing more of the storytelling than the characters.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna like argue for or against it like on stream. I will say that like
that's fine.
one thing that I think Matt Mercer is great at is like keeping a poker face and just saying like, you don't know, and just letting there be like awkward silence and letting them deal with it. Like,
yeah, I feel like I'm too soft in a lot of those situations because I'll be like, you don't know, make a history check. Because I want to tell you as a DM, because I'm like, oh, your character should know this. It'd be so cool if you knew it. But I think I need to also learn to love you not knowing things, which I am enjoying and keeping a lot of secrets and watching them sort of unfold over time. But it's hard to not want to be like, oh, there's this cool story, you should know about it.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, I mean, because it is. I mean, it's like when you're writing a story and you're like, I don't want to get rid of this part that I like just because the story doesn't make sense without it. You know, like I want to keep all of it.
Yeah. I'm trying to justify stuff and cutting things. Like I think when I prepped Phandalin, there's like 10 or 15 businesses in town. Just got rid of most of them because I was like, I am not doing a shopping episode where I keep track of like 10 different like shopkeepers. It's a small town and we can press them, I'll combine them. Like the fact that the inn and the tavern were two separate buildings before was stupid, so those should be together. The Dove Post and the Miners Exchange were separate. Like all this stuff was just like spread out among like a million NPCs that mattered for nothing, and so I was like, okay, let's just make it like 10 small ones. That's way better. So then at least you can remember their names and like what it looks like and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to being like,
yeah.
Let alone me trying to remember that shit. Couple things. Looking at chat since we got a little carried away there. One, Darby, my friend, my sweet boy. Thank you for gifting the subs in chat here. Bless you. That is the first time that's ever happened. We just hit affiliate. So if you would like to subscribe or gift a sub or anything like that, you should do it. It's fun. I don't really know what it does because I don't know how Twitch works, but apparently it's a good thing that you're supposed to get, so.
Yeah. Make number go up. That's what we do.
Yeah. Something like that.
God.
I constantly feel kind of humbled and embarrassed by this whole Twitch thing because it's a platform and I know how to put myself on it, but I don't know how to use it. I know how to use the software to get myself like my images and my video up there, but I don't know what any of the stuff that like Twitch does.
Yeah, there is like there's a level to it that is like just beyond the nuts and bolts. There's a level that is like marketing. That is hard. It's a whole different job.
Yeah. And Darby's Derbs in chat is saying that he's going to guide me through the Twitch world. He's also the person who I think all of us owe a little bit of thanks to because he taught me how to use Streamlabs, taught me how to set up all the things that pop up on screen whenever somebody subscribes or follows us or whatever. So thank you, Darby. We appreciate you. He's been in our little stream chat since the start. He was just here for that vacation that we went on when we had to pre-record the episode, so that was fun.
Hell yeah.
And then he's moving out to LA in I don't know, a
cool.
while, so he's gonna, I think, join our local D&D game, which will be fun. So
sick.
Much needed.
That's awesome.
Okay. Let's see.
Oh yeah. There's Derby. Not to put you on the spot, Evan.
Yeah.
What type of player is your favorite to DM for?
I think the best quality I could possibly have in a player is just being curious. the more times you ask to like make a check, or the more times you ask to explore, the more times you try to like figure out information about the world around you, or what do I know about this, or can I make an insight check, or oh, what's over there, or wait, you described this, like, is it this and this? Like, that's my favorite thing. Is like, I want to give like a very sort of blank slate when I describe a room, but I'm trying to give subtle clues to like, oh, you should look at this, or maybe you should check that out. Like, if I talk about something, it's hard to not give like the D&D effect where it's like, oh, the DM mentioned that for more than a sentence, we have to check it out.
Yeah.
But sometimes I do intentionally glaze over things and just leave them like just as a blip to see if you pick them up. And most of the times you do. But yeah, I think just anybody who asks a lot of questions is my favorite.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I have to remind myself of is this is not real world rules, it's fiction rules, where everything that is mentioned matters. It's very like, what is it, Chekhov's gun? If there's a gun in Act 1, it's going to go off in Act 3. Like, nothing is insignificant in the world of D&D. I mean, not nothing, but like, if you mention something, it's for a reason.
Most of the time. But also I find myself getting a little tokenesque just describing things because I think that they're cool. And then y'all really narrow in on them and I'm like, oh, fuck, now they think this is part of something. And half the time I'm like, oh, they think this is part of something. Next episode I'll make it something.
Yeah.
Or I'll just be like, well, we just spent 30 minutes on this thing that I probably shouldn't have spent that long describing because now they're totally sidetracked, derailed on it. But
sure,
that's part of the fun of D&D is like enjoying that getting sidetracked. And like even the last episode, like y'all were just supposed to like get back and go to the cave, and you were like, oh, we have all this business to attend to in town because it feels important because there's these characters that matter to y'all, which is surprising for me as a DM. I don't get to have players that genuinely pay attention and care about all the characters in a place and think about like, oh, if we're going here, we have to talk to these people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. One of the things that I am trying to get used to is, and I'm the same way with video games. I have difficulty thinking of the world that we're in like a 3-dimensional way. Like I have to remember that like, oh, like such and such town is north of where we are now. And like think of it in terms of like real world directionality. Yeah. Because one of the things that Tommy makes fun of me for constantly is in video games, I get lost all the time. Because I'm like, in the real world, I'm like, oh, the sun is over there, so east is that way. Like,
yeah, you have a visual cue around you. It's not just hypothetical.
Yeah, totally. And like, but somehow in video games, like the tree made of 5 pixels over there doesn't register as a visual cue to me.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the same tree? I don't know.
And I feel like a lot of that's probably on me because it's hard to constantly remind you of where you are in the world. And I try to do that with like when you ask, oh, what time is it? And I'm like, oh, the sun's here and all this is happening. But like even that for me, I struggled with left and right for a long time. Like north, south, east, west is even harder. And then also putting in like weather patterns and seasons and all this kind of shit is, I don't know, it's complicated. But it's
totally
anything I can do to make it more engrossing is good. It's just fucking hard, man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean,
and also the biggest thing is that like if I were playing at a table with you, I would have all these maps printed out like in huge format, and you'd be able to look and like point at them and stuff. And that lack of like tactile visual aid is gone. And I think
totally.
I've shown you maps a couple times, but only fleeting.
Yeah, it's not quite the same. I know I've told you this. I'm like putting together a local D&D group here that I'm gonna DM for the first time, which I'm very excited about. But it's funny moving from this format, which is like my only D&D experience, to real world
Mm-hmm.
where, I mean, just, I was like, do I have a table big enough? Like,
Honestly, it's hard to have a table big enough. We specifically bought a table, or I guess my boyfriend bought a table for us that has a leaf that we can put in the middle, and it's finally we have a table big enough for D&D, because I used to play on like one of those IKEA ones that you pull out and like the shelves slide out at either side, and I thought it was like the coolest, biggest table ever, but no, still, that was with my like 10, 11 person group, and it was tiny.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And just, I keep trying to think about, like, I don't know, I have so little reference, but like, we've been watching Dimension 20,
Yeah.
which is amazing.
Honestly,
And
such a great, like, almost antithesis to the way Matt DMs.
yes.
Matt Mercer DMs.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so, everything is so goofy all of the time. And yeah, like, I feel like Brennan Lee Mulligan cannot be embarrassed. Like, it's just impossible.
Yeah. I don't understand it. He's
Yeah.
very, very good at what he does and just so quick-witted. And he has this, like, thought-to-mouth pathway that is infinitely short. And somehow he's just able to come up with the craziest shit and, like, describe it well enough that everyone understands how weird and crazy it is, but also is able to visualize it at the same. I don't know. I don't understand it. It's a crazy level of like theatrical skill that I do not possess.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, fully. And everything. Yeah, it's like he's very quick.
Hi, Tommy.
Hi. How's it going?
Good. Can I? Am I ruining?
We're having a private conversation. No. Yeah. Hi. Welcome. Glad you're here.
Hi. Sorry.
Wait, this is great. The two of you can chat about whatever it is you would like to do while I take a quick restroom break.
Okay, let me grab a chair.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Everybody, I'm the sole performer now, so I'll just keep talking.
Do a flip.
I'll do a flip. That's our forever offer on Twitch.
We'll always do a flip.
Oh God, we're in different places from where we usually are.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's so different.
It's messing me up.
Yeah. Have some flour. Okay. What were you talking about?
We were talking about Dimension 20.
Oh.
How clever Brennan Lee Mulligan is.
He is the fastest wits in the West.
He's so fast, and also everything he says is good and funny.
Yeah.
Like, he very rarely comes up with like a
stinker.
Yeah.
I see. Amazing. Question: what's a fun skill you have, Robin? Something strange.
I am actually in real life decent at archery.
We have archery shit, if you will, in our closet here, which I've never seen be used. But
yeah, I mean, take the word decent, by its true meaning, not great.
I believe it.
But
neither of us can actually do a backflip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a good question.
How did I get my hair so beautiful? Oh. I use marula oil after every wash, which is I only wash about once or twice a week. Try to, and I also double shampoo. So double shampoo, condition, and a little bit of marula oil at the end.
This is a beauty channel now.
Yeah, it's a beauty channel. And I also have a good hairstylist who's good at bleaching my hair without destroying it, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you, Darby.
I wish I had hair as beautiful as Tommy's.
Webster's very first question on the stream was, "How are we so cute?"
Oh.
Yeah.
Monkey's paw deal.
Yeah. I was just thinking about the kind of, map of the setting, the world that we're playing in the Forgotten Realms, and I read in, I don't know, some, because all I read about is D&D now, of course. I read in some article about, like, yeah, like, you know, I have a job and also I'm in school, but you wouldn't know it from how much I just think about D&D all the time.
Some might say I do D&D more than I do my actual job.
Yeah. This is a real job, Dad. It's completely not.
No. As much as I would love it to be, it is definitely not a career path.
Yeah,
I mean, it was for some people, so, you know.
But I mean, it's one of those things that it's like, you know, Matt Mercer or Brennan Lee Mulligan didn't think like, I bet I can get a living doing D&D, so that's why I'm gonna pursue. Like,
yeah,
you know, like it seems like a pretty quick way to take the fun out of something.
Yeah,
you know, it's getting lucky, and like I enjoy doing our show for what it is, and it's very fun, and it doesn't need to be my full job.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Evan's job is D&D, says Darby.
I mean, it feels like it sometimes. Yeah, because it's like I've got Wednesday nights with y'all, and then I've got Monday nights with that other group that I started during quarantine on Stream Stuff, and recently I just started my like local group. Doing that Icewind Dale campaign, which has been so refreshing to have people like at the actual table again.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's not that I need to do that much prep work; it's that I really want to, and I have trouble finding days where I don't just be like, I could quit work like 2 or 3 hours early and just work on D&D stuff for a little while.
Well, and forgive me if I'm repeating things that have already been said before I got here, but I mean, like what Robin and I were talking about with how much of our like brains it is consuming, it's like it doesn't feel, like it seems like an easy comparison to like compare it to like video games and letting that like take up all your time, because it's a similar kind of like playing a game, in a fantasy setting. But because it's with other, real living people, and like we're kind of making something.
Yeah, you're responsible for the content.
It doesn't feel so, what's the, like,
gross?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know what I'm trying to, not like sinful, but like,
yeah,
I don't know that I believe in sin, but yeah, because there's other people on the other side of it, it feels very rewarding. It doesn't ever feel too like, like insular to myself, greedy or something.
Yeah, I think for me I have played video games my whole life. I've gotten sucked into like WoW horribly. I've gotten sucked into like solo RPGs where I play like way too many hours of them, and D&D and like prepping things and everything like never feels like as bad of a guilty pleasure, because I know like at the end of it, and not to like pull it into like a weird relationship thing, but it's part of my like sort of love language, which is something I think a lot of people know about, is like doing like small like gifts like of artwork of some kind. And so if I can like sit down at my desk and like be like prepping part of the campaign and just be knowing like, oh, I get to show this and give this to people later, like that makes me feel so much less guilty than like, I don't know, playing Overwatch for like 5 hours on end and just getting mad at video games and having nothing to show for it at the end.
Right. Yeah. At the end of a session, we have fully like had it created memories and experiences, among a group of people that, are unique. And that's something really special, which I mean, like MMOs, I think are kind of a funny in-between zone. It's part of the reason they can be so, compulsive, I think, for some people, is because it is like, that is also a real social situation, in a lot of ways. Like the relationships, one of my best friends in high school, married his girlfriend who he met over WoW, you know.
Oh, for
like
sure.
6
Yeah, I
weeks
got
ago.
like invited to like guildmaster weddings and stuff when I was playing WoW. Like,
Yeah, and those are real relationships too. You know, like it's not like they found out that they were a bad match. They're like, no, yeah, we're the same people there as we are here.
yeah.
You know, yeah,
And I think that's what I like about D&D too, is that like it gives it removes guilt from the equation of doing a lot of things, especially when it comes to like some of the role play aspects and stuff, because I know that a lot of people who play D&D in a certain way as their character would never do that shit in real life. But they have an out to do it here where it's justified by numbers and to roll the dice, and it just, I don't know, it makes it fun to be an asshole, or fun to be like not to be weird again, but in my other campaigns, sometimes people are like way too horny at like the NPCs, and it's funny because it's like, you know, you would never do this in real life, but like your character probably would, because they're kind of a sleazebag, and that's just a funny way to like sort of act it out. When if you were doing this like face to face with the person, to be like, this is awkward and weird, man, stop. And getting rid of that awkwardness is so fun.
Totally. I mean, we were talking earlier about kind of some of the social dynamics of awkwardness are a little bit removed with, I mean, specifically with NPCs, right? Because like if an NPC like makes a pass at you and you shoot them down or something, it's not like in real life where you're like, I guess I can never go to that coffee shop again. Like,
yeah. In the game, we can make that guy get, you know, abducted by an eagle. It's fine.
Or you can prestidigitate parts around him, like whatever you want.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not the same feeling of social, like, ooh, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, Darby has a question. Do drugs exist in D&D, and which, if any, would you take? They do. There are no rules in any official thing for specific drugs, except I think there's smoke leaf, which is somewhere between tobacco and marijuana. It's smoked very casually, but it, as opposed to doing like a nicotine high, has more of like a calming, friendly thing like weed does. And then there's like sood, which is almost like psychedelic mushrooms. But as far as like that kind of stuff goes, that's usually entirely up to the DM. And I have really, really enjoyed the situations in other campaigns where I've thrown some like, oh, you just like tackled this like cabal of all of these bandits that have been like stealing things off the highway, all these highwaymen, like of course they're probably going to be stealing. Oleander has lived through a fantasy coke addiction and come out the other side of it somehow a better person.
That is actually where the business card idea came from.
Yep. It was the constant need of something to line things up with on the mirror.
God. That tracks.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I feel like as we get into more cosmopolitan areas in this campaign, maybe that'll be something that happens, or more druidic, wild, witchy areas. There's alternatives for that, but I think fantasy drugs are cool.
Yeah.
Because there's no negative side effects aside from whatever happens to your character, and usually it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As long as we don't like, you know, be like, this is great, man. Like we gotta do this in real life now, immediately on stream.
On stream.
Also, if you're a child, do drugs. Like that's the last thing you should do.
That's usually what I think to say whenever.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I have to filter myself.
I'll just get banned.
Yeah, right. Ooh, it just goes offline. We get the rainbow bars.
Yeah.
That's all it took. Oh, boy. Yeah, I mean, we mentioned not too long ago how surprisingly sober our campaign has been thus far. Like, I feel like it's such a trope in D&D to be like, you meet at a tavern and something about a drunken brawl. And that hasn't happened yet. I don't think, yeah. And I don't know if it's just all of our characters are pretty buttoned up, or
I was trying to make stuff happen last night, or the last night of the campaign, but there was so much to do that I didn't want to like make everyone party
Yeah.
more than I did.
I think part of that is probably my fault because I was like, do I want to like sort of nudge them in the direction of these story beats, or do I want to just let them party for an episode after they just like did this castle? And I was like, oh, I don't know what to do.
yeah.
I don't. I mean, I don't think there's any wrong way about it. I think everyone I think there was also so much interesting stuff to do
Yeah.
that I don't miss anything that we didn't do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Traumas.
So, question from me, since now I have two people to talk to on the stream. What are you going to do next? After last night, you just had this long sort of talk. You learned a lot of information about what lies ahead of you. Are there any particular, I don't know, big questions or concerns or points that you really, really want to make sure that you hit or don't hit moving forward?
I mean, I think that Bree is a little bit shaken for sure. She wants to get to Wave Echo Cave and get, stop the Black Spider and do the things that need to be done. But she's also realizing that her, kind of like tilting at windmills in the forest for 10 years has bigger implications than she thought, and is like a part of a bigger scheme. And she's like kind of grappling with that, and like, where do I fit in? Do I want to fit in? Who can I trust? All of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's one of those things in D&D where, like, a conversation happened that I wasn't there for, so I don't know about it, And, like, I mean, I don't think I was even there when you flashed your symbol at this woman in the first place, so I, like, feel like I know nothing about, what Bree has been, like, finding out. Like, I feel like, I heard, like, oh, her friends are, like in jail somewhere, and like, yeah, that's something that she's working at, and we've got this pressing thing right now. So I'll be interested to see, like, I think it's a question about how do we work D&D right, is like, how will that come up? Because, like, I don't know that you would just be like, guys, this is what's happening, because is pretty like,
yeah.
I know for Glass, I mean, like, definitely am kind of like weirded out by like, what the hell is up with that mage hand? That's kind of like, I'm like, am I an X-Man? Like, am I special? And thinking about that, and also trying to think of like, does that do anything for me, or what did I do to make that, to deserve it, or is there something beyond my awareness that's happening? And then also trying to figure out, how to, like, what do I do with this, with Elmond? How do because I mean, Glass has kind of his own stuff going on that it's like, no, I really am not interested in anything else right now, but this is like an extremely kind person who's given me something amazing that I already, like, treasure deeply. And so trying to figure out how to be a good person to this person, and maintain, like, a relationship that feels fair. So that's kind of, I think, what I'm thinking about. He's thinking about.
I am a little bit sorry for throwing you a fantasy. How do I friend zone this person without hurting them?
I don't.
At the same time, I kind of feel like it's I don't know. It's giving like you and your character like a really important chance to talk about something everybody has dealt with at some point.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
sort of like letting someone down gently thing it's hard. And it's I'm curious to see how Glass will deal with that and how that might differ from how Tommy might deal with the same situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was just talking about how social dynamics are different in D&D, but there is like, I mean, I do think in general that we use fiction to understand the real world better.
Mm-hmm.
And like, even as a character, I don't want to like break an NPC's heart ruthlessly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know they're not a real person, but like, they kind of feel like
bad,
that.
man. Yeah.
But I would also say it's like, like if we are thinking of, like kind of giving the game, enough like supposing enough depth in it that like, okay, I'm gonna try and treat this how I treat a real person. It's like, I don't think there's one way that I know how to do that in real life, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I broke up with people and bought them flowers the next day. I don't know that was a good idea, like
that and like
you're
also
Yeah.
navigating, yeah, as players you're navigating this like really intense and like difficult to do social situation that would be hard in person, where you have the advantage of body language, tone of voice, how they're looking, how they've treated you in the past, whether or not they're leaning towards, or like all of these other things that you would always have at your advantage. But here in like the hypothetical, it's just
yeah.
what do I do? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's fun. I think a lot of it for me has just been like, I'm going to throw this situation, see how you react, and then sort of play towards the way that you reacted towards it.
Yeah.
And that's been a lot more fun than just trying to like decide how an interaction is going to go before it happens. Because most of the time I really don't know. I really didn't know what was going to go on between you and Haley on the roof either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or even how Sister Garalee was going to deal with Ambrose coming over. Because I honestly thought the two of them might like sit down and like have like a little like caster to caster talk or like something. And Ambrose is just sometimes very down to business and just in a way almost the most responsible member of the group.
Yeah.
But I think we also said before you were here, Tommy, Ambrose is also the number one wild card of the group.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, I think Nero in some ways like sees a different like code of the game, that yeah, I think
there's some creative vision there that like I said this earlier breaks me as a DM all the time because I'm like, this is a really good idea that would work in real life, but I can't call upon like my library of rules to educate whatever these decisions are. How do I do this? Because I want it to work. I don't know. It's very fun. Mm-hmm. It's very fun to play with somebody who just thinks so outside the box all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's good. Darby has another question in the chat.
This is you.
The oldest living turtle in the world just celebrated their birthday today and turned 188 years old.
This is a terrible question, Darby.
I read characters, but it's players. How many players do you think will live long? I mean, I don't know how y'all live your lives.
I think Robin will live longer than me. She exercises all the time. I don't.
I think Sean will live longer than me because he is very, very health conscious, and I am just like, I want to play video games today. Yeah.
Okay, Darby does say characters.
Oh.
Okay, then my answer definitely changes. I do not think Bree's gonna live as long as Robin.
Let's 180 that one. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
I feel like Ambrose probably. I mean, I don't know. Like, just in terms of lifespan, probably. I mean, he's a fey creature. I imagine they live
That,
forever.
and I feel like the innate nature of a wizard is to seek out things that can sort of empower and extend their lifespan.
And otherwise kind of sequester, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how
Ambrose will
like,
outlive us all. Maybe Ambrose is the big bad at the end of the campaign. Who knows?
I would fully believe that. I don't know how like he doesn't seem like ambitious in the way that some wizards I think play a lot of the time. Ambitious in terms of like I want more power.
Yeah, greed
Or-
for power.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Like Ambrose seems like he'd be, pretty happy to like sit and read his book in the woods forever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Which, I mean, as far as I know about Nero, sort of tracks, because I mean he's a very, very talented artist, but doesn't seem to do it for any commercial purposes. It's more so like, I'm content to sit here and make these things that like the people that I care about in my specific like audience will like be impacted by, and like fuck the rest of it. But I sat here, I liked doing it, and they liked what I made. And I feel like that's reflected in a lot of what Ambrose does, and that's cool.
That's awesome. Damn.
And then,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, similar vibes with Iris and Oleander. Just very businesslike and targeted at a goal, but at the end of the day, always sort of focused on making sure that the people around her are like taken care of.
Mhm.
Which I know that Oleander is sort of often played as like a callous and bratty and spoiled character, but I think Iris's like better nature shines through a lot of the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, I mean, there was one session pretty early on, I think, where I was surprised at how I think there was like it was Bree's admission that she used to work with the Red Brands or something. And Oleander so quickly was like, whatever, we all got dirty laundry. Like, everybody has a past. I was like, wow,
It's
I
a
wasn't
very
expecting
LA outlook.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. Just she was like very cool with it very quickly and was like, we'll kill whoever you need to kill.
This is a interesting party dynamic that I don't think I've really encountered in a game before, because I've never had a group where there are no fighters who wish to be knights for the realm, or clerics who wish to uphold the ideals of their god, or paladins who are like beholden to like a greater power, or any of these other characters that might have even a semblance of like a lawful alignment, where they are sort of beholden to some sort of larger rules above them, aside from maybe Oleander's sort of devotion to the practices and trades of business and sort of that almost lawful pact that she has with her patron.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting to see how the challenges that like sort of come to you in the future get interpreted by a group that doesn't really have or need to have any allegiances.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I still feel like, and I think this is normal for where we are in the campaign, like, it still sometimes feels like at any given moment, like, if we weren't playing a campaign and wanted to stick together, at any given moment, I could believe any one of these characters could still, like, go off in their own direction and do something on their own.
Yeah.
I think that will definitely change as time goes on. But right now, we're all still a little bit like feeling each other out. And how long are we doing this thing for?
Yeah. What is our actual investment in each other beyond like, I like these people?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like aside from sort of the commonality of Gundren and now sort of learning about like this Forge of Spells and Wave Echo Cave and like, oh, I guess we got to stop this because we're kind of the only people who can or should. Like, there's not been a whole lot of unifying threats sort of brought upon
Right.
you.
Yeah.
And so I think as you push forward through whatever story is ahead of you, seeing which of the problems are laid ahead of you, because there's going to be a lot, become a unifying threat. I don't think that I'll be able to predict that. I think I'm just going to have to, as a DM, throw you problems and see which ones align with everybody's sort of motives
Mhm.
at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I think that, like, for Bree, I was just thinking, I don't know if she super has any allegiance yet, but she is very used to being in, like, a close-knit group. And she, like, doesn't want to be alone and doesn't want to work alone.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
Even if she's not, like, totally in love with any of these people yet, she's, like, still a lot better than trying to get anything done alone. So, I mean, that's enough of a reason.
Yeah. I am excited and curious for the moments in which this party in particular will find that their how am I trying to phrase this? Their allegiance to each other is for personal reasons more so than practicality.
Mhm.
And when that sort of tipping point happens, will be curious to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for Glass, I mean, I think the thing that motivates him, I mean, I don't want to reveal too much about.
That is part of the idea of this, is to reveal a little bit, but yeah, don't do any spoilers. But
Yeah, but I think what motivates him, what got him here, interfacing with anybody in the first place, was kind of just a desire to, like, go out and find a, like, kind of a reason to feel useful in the world, and to find meaning out of life. And so I think, this is kind of that, even if he's not quite, like, calling it that, it still feels a little, like, happenstance. But I think this will build meaning for him as, like, what's that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And I was just thinking about how much I love Glass and Bree's dynamic because of that, and how interesting it will be to see that kind of, grow and change. Because, I think Bree has already decided what the meaning of life is for her. Like,
okay,
and I don't know if she's a good example for
Mhm.
Glass, honestly.
Mm.
another question for your characters, kind of from just me as a DM, but also just audience perspective. If everything goes according to plan, you get to Wavek okay. If you stop the Black Spider, you do all this stuff where you apparently locate this, like, forge of spells, and Phandalin turns into this, like, prosperous megapolis of magical power, etc. What next? I mean, if you were sort of paid for the job and then given free reign to leave and do what you want, what would Glass do? What would Bree do? Would you try to stick together? Would you just be like, well, that was fun, see you later? Like, I know that's a big question, but I am definitely curious.
Sure.
I mean, I kind of feel like of anybody's, like, personal problems that we're aware of, I think the party is most cognizant of Bree's friends.
Mhm.
And that, to me, would probably be where, like, Glass, because especially, like, this happened off stream, but we, like, Glass and Bree met in this kind of, police raid of her friend group, of her merry band. So, that is still something present of like, this is a problem, that is important to, that is important in Bree's life. And, if nothing else is more pressing, I think that's the most like clear goal we have. I think we have an abstract idea of Oleander has this, like grand vendetta against her family, and Ambrose likes to read. But other than that, I don't think I've spoken much about what, and I don't think Glass feels ready to think much about solving any of his own problems.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that once they're done with the Forge of Spells and this very pressing thing is no longer very pressing, Bree will want to go to BG City and try to bring out her people. I think she also will be very willing to ask for help. Like, because again, she doesn't want to do things alone, and I think especially after talking with Haelia, has some idea of what is stacked against her if she tries to do this. She's not going to rush in guns blazing to and try to start a prison break.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you are facing fantasy Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Literally, because it is an island in the middle of a bay in one of the biggest metropolitan cities on the coast. If I could compare Baldur's Gate to anything, it would be San Francisco, so it makes perfect sense. But yeah. And it is the headquarters of, and both your characters would have known or heard of this, the Flaming Fist, which is this like mercenary group that works as the police force for the entire city. But they are a mercenary group, and they are paid the same way the police are, like through like government funds. But they're sort of able to renegotiate that contract at will.
As in, they take bribes?
Yeah. Well, no, it's more so just like it's a for-profit as opposed to like government-run police force.
Oh, interesting.
BlackRock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Green goes dead.
It just like turns into static with like a Q drop in the middle. Just something text.
But no, I mean, it does sound kind of more like paramilitary or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But they're also widely regarded like throughout the whole area as like the good guys. So it will be interesting to watch you try to sort of go up against like the knightly order that has saved everyone from so many incursions, and you want to break them out of prison, blah blah blah. Like, yeah, how the fuck are you gonna deal with that?
Yeah.
I mean, breaking them out of prison is one way. There's other ways to get people out of fantasy jail, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I would not shake the idea of, what's the word I'm looking for? Negotiation too far off the table.
Yeah, I think negotiation, redemption kind of thing.
That's funny. I was just thinking about like the timeline of like Bree asking Oleander like, do you know a good lawyer in town? Like
No, I think we're adventurers, and there are problems to solve in a city, and I think I feel like in this world there's perhaps a greater value of atonement. I don't feel like it's so like law sentencing bound. I think it's like, you're in jail because you're bad, then maybe we'll just forget about you. Like, I kind of feel like that's how fantasy jail works.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know.
I am particularly excited for. I don't know when it will happen, just because the story could take any number of turns. But some years ago, for my home game, I pulled from, it was an AD&D, so or I guess it was quote unquote D&D Next module, which was supposedly 5th edition before it was 5th edition. It was like after 4th edition they made D&D Next, I think. Someone's probably going to eviscerate me in the comments if we put this on YouTube, but it was a module that just sort of was a gazetteer for Baldur's Gate. And I wanted my players in my home game to run like a big like Baldur's Gate like heist mystery, all this stuff with all the factions, all the locations, everything there. So I already have all that prepped, and I remember it, and like I know every business, every person who owns it, everything in the city already from a previous game. So I'm very excited and looking forward to being able to recycle a lot of that what was eventually unused content, because people moved away and home games do what they do. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of juicy stuff there that will be fun to reappropriate for our campaign.
Cool. That's exciting.
And then yeah, I think I've been pretty transparent about the fact that we've been running Lost Mine of Phandelver, but as far as the rest of the viewers go, I don't think anybody knows that what we're doing sort of after this is Storm King's Thunder, and the two have sort of a intentional marriage within the text of the books, so it'll be fun to transfer from one to the other and then see how I can change it up a little bit, because there is a lot I want to change. But oh my god, it's a lot. There's the book I'm on is a 50-page like magazine, and then Storm King's, I just want to show you the index because it's insane, just of locations in the north. So chapter 3 starts here, and then this is all just locations in the north that continue on the next page. And it's just, I mean, some of them are just like, oh, Waterdeep, a city on the shore, blah blah blah, and it's like something this long when it should be like a huge thing for a city. But other parts of it are massive.
Damn, I'm excited.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
It's going to be the first time, I think, for me doing a D&D campaign where I just say, here's the map, where do you want to go? And you'll just really get to pick whatever you want. Because I'm very used to being like, oh no, I don't have that prepped, you can't go there yet. You have to go where I have prepped. So.
Right. Wow. That's exciting. Open world campaign.
Yeah.
For real. This is...
Let's find the casino. And then, metagame, get enough gold to just kill God.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds fun to me. Oh, I would love to go to a fantasy casino because I think casinos are such stupid, like, places. like there's just like, those, like, insane things happen to you. It's like, all right, that guy has 2 different shoes on.
Yeah.
I don't know, someone comes back and they're like, I'm really high, like, you're like, okay, like someone's betting their life away by accident kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've done like a big carnival with carnival games for people before. I've done like in bar like fighting and darts and cards and stuff like that, but I've never tried to do like a full on like fantasy like Vegas style casino, and I feel like that would be a really, really fun, if not a one shot, at least like a thing to build just to have it there for you to play with if you ever want to go there.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Because I have a list of like bar games, and those could easily be turned into casino games. So you can just play with dice.
Oh my gosh. Oleander teaching all of us how to gamble.
Oleander teaching all to count cards for sure.
Yeah.
Ambrose, and then realizing Ambrose is way better at it than everybody else.
That tracks.
Yeah, Ambrose just has the number.
The number.
Yeah, fully.
Everybody who's watching the stream still, do you have any questions about your own home games? Classes, things in D&D in general, how to play certain characters, or how to build a backstory, or if you're a new DM, how to prepare content. Anything else like that you're curious about, please let us know. But we are almost to an hour and a half. I don't know how much longer the two of you want to keep going, but I mean, I'm enjoying myself just sort of sitting here and chatting. I've got nothing else going on today, so. It's kind of nice to have a free Saturday to just like, oh, I can like have a relaxing stream I don't have to prep for. That's nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
You want some midday grape juice?
Grape juice?
Would you like a glass of wine?
I would love. I didn't know we had grape juice.
Blood of Christ? Blood of Christ?
Yes.
Darby wants to know what type of character most closely fits your personality. You gotta be a bard, dude. Like 100%. For reference for everybody, I've known Darby since I think he was like 12 and I was like 15 or something like that. We've known each other for way too long.
Darby, I also feel like you would be like a badass fighter who like can just really throw down. I guess I think of that as kind of like, you know, hardcore roots there.
Well, bard to me is less like a musician and more so somebody who just is jack of all trades, good at like a little bit good at everything, really, really good at some things, and then just entirely charismatic and really knows how to like navigate social situations. And I feel like those are all qualities that Darby has. Webster says, I'm wanting to DM a game, but I'm still trying to figure out the general story arcs before I get into the nitty gritty. Yeah. I would, rather than writing a story arc which has a beginning, middle, and end, I would write seeds for those stories, which are problems that will be encountered. And then as your party, like, decide what the bad guys are doing, what the bad guys' motives are, and how they're going to do them, but don't decide how the party will interact with that. Because if you do, then you're going to end up railroading them into just being able to do things the way you have designed it, and not letting them sort of decide how to tackle this problem by themselves. So you want to just sort of create these characters and what they're going to do and what their trajectory is, and then have that trajectory react to whatever the players do. Because if you craft like a whole story arc where you're like, oh, the characters will do this and then this and then this and then have this big battle at the end, like, no, it's all gonna fall apart, or your character's gonna feel railroaded and like they don't really have any say. And that's the way I've started prepping things now, is like, once I have I'll do locations, I'll do NPCs, I'll have all these things that are just set up with like a description of what happens there and what it does and its place in the world, and just like, if it existed, what it would be like if you walked in and didn't interact with anybody, or if it's a person, just like what their like motives and how they sort of interact with the world are, as far as like, oh, they're extra friendly, or oh, they really, really don't like this, or whatever. But I try not to say what they would say in a situation, unless they have like a catchphrase or something silly. But what I normally do is, after I write all that, I just go through and I do major scenes. And I just say, like, this is a scene I want to have happen where this starts. How does a character interact with it? Like, I'll be like, okay, major scene would be Bree has a dream where she's drugged back into the same forest, and the owl continues to talk to her about this and this. And aside from, like, obviously some of the stuff I've written for your dreams has been scripted, just in what I say, but how you react to it and then from there on is different. Like, the whole thing of you running through the woods with like your limbs changing and like just taking off at a sprint is not something I would have predicted. How's your grape juice?
Did you think I meant the grapefruit?
No, I thought you meant actual grape juice. I'm sorry, I'm dumb, okay, everybody? I don't.
Cheers.
It's very jarring to take a sip and think you're drinking juice and then it's wine. That's all I'll say.
All I'm saying is, when I poured it into the cup, it was juice.
Oh, it's the hair. It's the Jesus hair.
Yeah, my Jesus hair.
That's what it is.
Highlights, just like, good lord.
Yeah, universe is hard just because it's. Sorry, I'm reading Webster's questioning it. I guess arc isn't the best word for it, just like universe scenario. Universe is tough because you really have to know and understand the settings, the way everybody interacts with it, sort of the history and the attitude in the world about general things. And then once you throw a problem into that, thinking about how the world would react to it is one thing, and then thinking about how those reactions would reach the players in a way to let them know that that thing is happening. Because there's no omniscience, there's no omnipresence, unless you have like a god telling you specifically to go do something. You're going to find out through the mail, or through somebody in a tavern, or through witnessing like some catastrophic event yourself, or through finding some mysterious tome. Like the hooks are the hard part to figure out. The problem's easy to make and how it happens, but like trying to hook your players into it in a way that doesn't feel forced or cheesy is really tough.
Yeah.
Right. Especially if none of your characters are kind of like you were saying before, like a paladin who's, you know, dedicated to righting the wrongs of the world, or a cleric who's dedicated to their god. Like, unless it's, you know, a character who is very explicitly like, I'm setting out to save the world. Like, yeah, like that character is easy to hook. But if it's somebody a little bit more complex, you have to figure out, like, what's their stake in this?
Yeah, because I even feel like the whole, you're doing this job because you're friends with this guy, hook with Gundren is still a little flimsy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. I mean, it's fun to poke fun at, you know.
Because, because we never really established, like, who is Gundren to all of you? We tried to, and it's hard because we never role-played that. You didn't get to know him, any of that. But I think by the time you were like, oh, there's a problem and there's a person missing, oh, now I'm in town and these people are assholes, oh, they're also slavers, like, it just sort of compounded and became like, oh, shit, these are, like, really bad people and no one's doing anything.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm also a little surprised that everybody responded so strongly to that sort of call to action, as opposed to just being like, we should talk to the police and leave.
Well, I mean, I think we all hate cops.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
that's true. Police is the wrong word. Maybe some sort of other authority beyond your own adventuring.
Yes and no. I mean, like, police is maybe not the wrong word. I think it's a generational, you know, like zeitgeist or something right now. That's like, yeah, no. I mean, the system that we live in is broken.
Right.
Like, I fully just have doubt in all systems, and like. As so with this politician, the only politician that we run into is a total piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like yeah, King Droop for, you know, like 2024. Like, you know, like a bag of shit better than a Harbin Wester, you know, like.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, we're playing the way we are in relationship to law enforcement and to politicians. Because it's, you know, like, our skepticism is well ingrained due to our real lived experiences right now.
And I think that's been part of the fun for me too, is that in the Forgotten Realms setting, the Lord's Alliance is the good guys. They're the heroes. They are the people protecting the realm, making sure everybody's safe. But there isn't a single player at our table that likes or trusts them. Yeah. With good reason, because they also do shitty things. But I don't know. I feel like it's so much more interesting to have, like, the biggest authoritarian, like, community be something that's suspicious, because that's something all of us are really used to over the last several years of, like, our own lives. It's relatable at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, It is funny, though, that, like, I do think a part of the purpose of fantasy, right, or of, like, fantasy fiction is, you know, even if it's not necessarily, like, utopian fantasy, is to, like, create a world that is different and maybe in some ways better than our own. So, like, it is funny that I immediately, as a player, have difficulty thinking, like, this is a different world from ours. Yeah. Like, the people who...
Yeah, why would there be an authoritarian regime in this world? But yeah. I think it's easier and more satisfying for us to create the same world where we have power to change it, as opposed to creating a world that doesn't have the problems in the first place.
Right. Totally.
Yeah, right. The fantasy, I think, which like especially during COVID is, I think, a reason that D&D is so appealing. It's the fantasy of agency.
Yeah.
Of like,
that just crushed my heart.
Which, perhaps our feelings of, strict agency are also ingrained, and perhaps not our reality, right?
The
protests.
whole allegory that like is circulated on social media about the like trashed restrooms in the homeless shelter, where it's like you don't have control over anything in your life, but you can do this one thing and know that you can assert control over it, and that is, even if it's not necessarily a good or right thing to do, it gives you a place to do that. And we see that constantly in the way that like people police stronger within their own communities than they do against the people outside of it who are actually causing the problem. And I don't know, there's just a lot of fun ways to explore social commentary inside the game. I think.
Yeah, totally. But I do agree that like, dystopian fantasy isn't fun when the ending is like, and everything stays the same and the bad guys are still bad and nothing gets better. Like God, you want something. Like
yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've watched like a horror movie or some sort of dystopian fantasy of some kind with Sean, because he really loves, it's my boyfriend, loves those sort of I don't know, just like bizarre little like dark comedy, or just straight up like scary horror movie things where like the end of every episode leaves you feeling like you got kicked in the gut. And I can't do it, man. It's too rough on my heart.
I mean, I think the nature of improv is also, it's yes and, so you can't, I mean, I know, so but it's fun, it's fundamental. But like you can't have a world that doesn't change and then improvise in that, right? You can't there's no way to operate in like a kind of a blanket like that, where like, okay, if nothing's going to change, then why do anything, right? It can be difficult, and it can keep doubling back on itself, but without any sense of progress, then there's kind of like no game to it. So it just doesn't fit the medium anymore, right? You can read a book or watch a movie, something passive that is on a train, because every piece of media like that is, right? But yeah, I think it needs to be different for something like this. It reminds me of what Brendan Lee Mulligan, what they were talking about on Dimension 20 regarding Escape from the Bloodkeep, playing evil characters, but how they were like evil on a certain level of like major goals and beliefs, but on like the more minuscule they got, like they're kind of still everyday people, and therefore were still kind of like enjoyable to watch, because they weren't just like chaotically one note, like I do everything, every possible opportunity to be bad I will be, because that was
show with which they pulled off that like these characters are evil but they're just a product of their environment was insane.
Yeah. So good. I mean, it helps, like it would have been, I mean, obviously it would have been a completely different story if it wasn't inherently a comedy. Like
if you tried to do that campaign Matt Mercer style, it'd be terrible. It'd be so depressing, and everyone would hate all the characters. But doing it as a comedy, and the character works great. It's just I don't know. It's the way you sort of reappropriate different styles of like acting and comedy into a totally different theme, like that makes it fun.
Robin, do you have an answer for this? What class of character would Kim Petras be from Sonic Youth, right? Is that who Kim Petras is?
That's
oh, Dad.
Am I wrong?
No, was a different Kim.
Darby just says no.
Oh, what the fuck? I don't know.
Kim Gordon.
Kim Gordon, thank you. I was trying to remember who Kim Petras was, and that was the. Is she a musician? Who the
Kim
fuck
Petras is the pop star girl who works
Was
like
it
with
Sonic
Oliver. She was like one of the youngest like people to transition at like a really early age.
Oh boy,
She's
sorry.
like a
He's on a track
really
with
important
Charlie
like, trans
XCX.
pop star.
Charlie XCX is on.
Darby's gonna kill you. That's fine.
Well, I was like, Darby probably likes, Kim Gordon, so that's why I was like, that's probably who he's asking about.
I am now picturing in my head what it would be like if Sonic Youth was fronted by Kim Petras, and I kind of love it.
Chaos.
Boy.
Amazing.
See? Okay, look, I was right.
I mean, that's also Darby's, I don't even know how many years of working at Guitar Center talking there.
To answer your question, but not Kim Gordon.
That's what I
Kim Gordon would be, I think, a warlock.
I feel like some kind of like
Yeah.
funky magic. Warlock or a sorcerer.
Yeah, I was gonna say if Kim Petras would be a sorcerer for sure, because sorcerers have this like cool. They're magic, but their magic is just there, and they have it, and they're like, I don't really know what to do with this or how to do anything, but I'll use it. Let's go. Okay.
Yeah.
And I love that sort of like innate, born this way kind of thing.
Yeah. Sorcerer has a lot more like chosen one energy
Favorite
to it.
class to
Like
play,
Harry Potter.
hands down. Honestly, all the spellcrafting and everything in Harry Potter is sorcerers and spell wizards, unless you count like the few people who, like maybe Hermione would be closer to a wizard than a sorcerer.
Wizard. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, should we wrap up here? We're like an hour and 45 minutes. I thought we were only going to talk for like an hour, but this has been really fun.
This has been really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I would like to try to do this, maybe not every week, but a little more often.
Yeah, totally.
Maybe we can try to arrange some questions other people. That I feel
We're dangerously close to a podcast.
I was gonna make a comment, but I feel like that's something better talked about before I say it on air. So I will chat about it with everybody before I do that.
This really must suck for the viewers because I'm like, I know that I'm gonna get to find out what this is.
Well, I was gonna say, should we invite someone to be like the host of this, so that like it's more of an interview format as opposed to like a conversation format, which would be fun, and someone who like isn't necessarily on the game doing it. Darby.
Sure.
But that's all.
Yeah, I mean,
Darby says all hosts.
there you go. Right, it's done.
Yeah, maybe we can figure that out sometime. That'd be fun. But
Cool.
for everybody who's been here this whole time, holy shit, I think we had like 8 to 10 viewers the entire time we were doing this. That's awesome.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. And I think we
Thanks,
actually
y'all.
did get some
Donations.
some donations. I
Cool.
scrolled way too far down. Let's
Y'all rule.
see.
I wish instant teleportation was real because I just came home from work and I wish I could like just give hand out croissants as like prizes.
Oh,
An almond
that's something I would like to know from the chat. If you know anybody who's good at emotes or making them, let us know. Send us something on Twitter. Send us something here, because I think we need a baguette emote really bad.
I want glass with the big cat eyes.
Yeah.
They're like boom,
Yeah.
That-
I really wanted a business card for Oleander.
Oh yes.
For sure.
We need like a horny gang
Yeah.
Yep.
emote really bad. Man.
God.
I want some
Like
Winchester.
a
emote.
creepy like Winchester emote with just like the three eyes just like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, so good.
Sarah Arena. Check it out.
The way, Evan, that you described the both of you did, but the photo that Glass took of Winchester by the lake was so cool.
Yeah, that's the one I'm gonna leave on Elman Jasper's piano for the morning.
It's awesome.
Remind me, that was after you left Cragmaw Castle and were coming back, but before you fought the Peritons?
Yeah.
Yeah, we slept near the lake where we met Grosha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember you talking about you saying like it would be an eerie image except for the context, which is that you all know and love this creature.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, because he's just kind of fucking scary, and every time I picture one of these black and white photos of Winchester, it's super grainy, super high contrast, and then like all you can see through like the almost black silhouette of like what would be a white animal due to the lighting is just like the three like eyes, just like bing, very much like whatever the meme is where you turn somebody's like saturation all the way up to bright red and their eyes are glowing or whatever. But,
yeah. No, I love having a creepy pet. It's good.
Yeah. And I just like that you pulled, not to reference somebody terrible, but like a little bit of like eldritch horror into a D&D setting, because there's not enough overlap, in my opinion. And not enough just like pure Tolkien-esque high fantasy monsters in comparison to how few just weird, like, I don't know. What's the movie with the like sort of radiation effect where everything just gets a little twisted with like the scary bear and like
Annihilation.
Yes.
Which was a huge
total
inspiration for him.
The book series Robin was talking about all fall.
Yeah. I mean, because I think when we first started, or when we were first making characters and everything, I was reading Annihilation, and I was also in this class called Nuclear New Mexico, all about the history of nuclear weapons in our state.
That sounds really cool.
It was awesome, and it was really, I mean, it was taught certainly from a critical perspective, but like kind of towards the end of the class, the professor got towards like the tourism and the propaganda around nuclearism, and how like it's become kind of a cartoon or a joke that like, oh, like radiation, it'll give you superpowers or something.
The three-eyed fish.
Oh yeah, when it's like the most terrifying thing. And like if you watch Chernobyl, you will have nightmares about it. But like, if you have not, you really should. I use the music from it a lot in our stream. But
cool.
It's very, very good. Also, prepare yourself. Don't go into it in any sort of a bad mood, because you will come out of it in a bad mood. But in like that sort of rewarding artistic bad mood kind of way.
Yeah.
We love a good artistic bad mood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Totally.
Well, I think that we are tapped on questions and everything. We're just now hitting the 2-hour mark, which I feel like is a great point to pause it. Well, 2 hours since I started the stream, I guess. Maybe not 2 hours of actually talking, but that's still...
Next episode, Darby hosts.
Yeah. All right, Darby. You're up, buddy. Cool. Thank you to everybody who came. Thank you, Robin, for sticking with me. Thank you, Tommy, for coming through halfway through.
I can make it for some.
Hell yeah.
We'll try to figure this out maybe not next week, but the week after that or something like that. So.
Cool.
Totally.
All right. Well, lots of love. Thanks for coming, everybody, and we will see you on Wednesday for another game. As always, double check thehelpaction.com for links to donate, or the links are in the chat. Transgender Law Center really, really deserves the money, so please give it to them if you have any to spare, even $1 or $2. All right, with that, later, everybody.
All right. Happy May Day.
Oh yeah, it is May Day. Cool. Bye.
Yeah. Burgers rights.